to Crutchfield Live. I'm your host, JR. We are back. We're here every 2 weeks. Thank you for coming back and joining us. If you've been watching previous Crutchfield Lives, you know we've got a pretty big show today. We're excited. We are in the middle of a Bose sweepstakes. We're going to get into that. We're going to give you a code word to get a 25 extra entries into the sweepstakes. We're going to do some fun stuff today. To celebrate the Bose sweepstakes, we're actually going to have somebody from Bose join us on the show. I'm excited about that. And as always, we would love to interact with you, our viewers. So comment on YouTube, comment on Facebook. We are monitoring both. We will try to answer questions live here during the broadcast. If you're wondering about anything Crutchfield sells, it's all on the table. Hit us up with your questions and comments. If they're on point for what we're talking about, even better. If you have questions for what would you ask somebody if you had a person from Bose to ask directly, we are going to have that person in the room right here with us. So we will be able to get Bose to answer questions. And if you're watching later, not live, then continue to ask questions, post them in the comments. We do monitor those after we're done being live, and we will have somebody answer those questions there for you as well. Today's topics, we are going to update you on the Bose sweepstakes. We're going to chat with Jason from Bose, and we're just going to pick his brain. He does what I do at Bose. My day job here at Crutchfield is to be a training manager, so I train all of our new advisors. He does training at Bose and has been doing so for almost as long as I've been here at Crutchfield. So we've got a cool dude here to pick his brain. We're also going to get into looking at your pictures that you've been posting and tagging us on Instagram and things like that. We'd love to see your systems, your home systems, your car systems, whatever you got, your home theaters, your subwoofers, all of that. The bigger, the better. We want to see how you're using the gear that you can get from us at Crutchfield. We've got some examples. We're going to take a look at those. We've also got we're also going to talk about Dolby Atmos. It's a home theater surround sound format that adds speakers above you. We're going to talk about what it is, why you might want it, and how you can get it. All of that's coming up. First, though, I've got a poll question. Would love to see it. Would love to hear your answers in the meeting, in the pop out, in the chat. Put them in the comments. Here's the poll question for this week. How do you listen to your movies and TV? When you're watching TV, whether you're watching a movie, TV show, sports, whatever, how do you listen to it? Are you using your TV speakers? Are you using a sound bar? Are you using a 2-channel home stereo system where you just have your TV audio piped into your music system? Or are you using some form of surround sound? And that can come in many forms, so we're going to get into that a little bit later. But would love to know, how are you listening to TV? The poll is up now on YouTube. I assume it's going up on Facebook as well. Hey, Ben on Facebook says, what's up? Lori says, hi from Arizona. Hello, Ben and Lori. Scott says, hello, JR. Ty says, hello. Jim says, love Bose. Right on. All right. Bose love in the room. Jim, I hope you're entered into the sweepstakes. If you're not already, it's not too late. In fact, today's a good day for that because you'll get an extra 25 entries if you can stick with us for the code word coming up soon. Hey, thanks to everybody that's watching. Steve on YouTube says, use big tower speakers at volume 11. Steve, I like you a lot. Please stick with us because, I'm right there with you on that. I mentioned that we'd like to answer questions from our viewers. We posted on our YouTube community channel that we were going live to talk about some stuff today, and we actually got a question just late last night, and we're going to start with answering that right after I say hello from New Hampshire from Jerry Georgopoulos. Thank you, Jerry, for watching. Here's the question that came in on our YouTube channel, and it's from Michael Davis. He says, I have a serious question. What's a better purchase for overall picture quality and performance? The Sony 65-inch X90J or the Samsung 55-inch QN90A? They're both at the same price. Even though I lose 10 inches in screen size, I don't want that to be the deciding factor. The overall best viewing experience is most important to me. Thanks for your insight. We commented that we would be giving the answer here live on this show, and that's what we're doing. So, Michael Davis, I hope you are watching. And here's the answer. I've actually got, I put a lot of thought into this. I'm going to start off by mentioning that the two TVs you brought up in your comment are this Sony right here, the 65 X90J at around $1,200 currently. The other TV you mentioned is the Samsung, where is it? There it is. Samsung QN55 QN90A. And as you can see on our website, this is actually no longer available. These were both released as 2021 models. Early last year is when they came out. The Samsung has been replaced with a newer model, and the N90A, the 55-inch, we no longer have any of them. So if you can find one of those elsewhere around the same price as the Sony, then what I've got to tell you about how those two models compare will be relevant. I can also tell you how the Sony compares to the replacement for that Samsung, which is the same model number except with a B at the end of it. So this is the 2022 model that replaces the A model that you were looking at before. So if I'm comparing the A model, the last year's model, to the Sony, then they actually compare really, really well. The Sony still being available, that's a feather in its cap for sure. The Samsung, however, had first off, they're both LCD TV screens. If you know anything about TVs, you know there's OLED and there's LCD. LCD screens use backlights to light up the panel. There's a liquid crystal display panel with light bulbs shining through it. That's what gives you the brightness of the picture. And there are different types of light bulbs. And the Samsung uses mini LEDs. And they're smaller and there's a lot more of them compared to the Sony, which uses regular-sized LEDs. They're small, but they're not mini LEDs. So because there are more backlights, more actual bulbs behind that Samsung panel, that gives it a little bit of an advantage over the Sony with local dimming. Its ability to give you good black levels and a bright picture where you need it to be bright with better edge detail and less haloing. So the Samsung wins in that case. The Sony did not have mini LEDs. It was a great TV with a good backlight, but the Samsung edges it out a little bit. Sony's got the Cognitive Processor XR though, which is top of the line video processing in a TV. It's generally regarded as about the best processor you can get in a consumer TV. And I would say Sony's processor, as good as the Samsung's processor is, the Sony's processor is a little bit better. If we're looking at the new Samsung, no, I'll take that back. Let's stick with the old Samsung. They both, coming out in early last year, they both had HDMI 2.1 inputs, which is kind of a big deal if you're gaming. I don't know if you're gaming, Michael, but if you are gaming with like a new PS5 or an Xbox X series, then having that HDMI 2.1 is kind of important. They both had it on one HDMI input. And with the Sony, you actually needed to do a firmware update to get all of the next generation gaming features. So the Samsung wins in that case, and the replacement to the Samsung, all of the inputs are HDMI 2.1. So it kind of comes back to, you said you didn't want size to be the deciding factor. If you were looking at both of these TVs side by side, you wouldn't say one looks horrible and one looks great. They both will look great. The Samsung 55-inch, I think, does win out against the Sony if you're only looking at video performance. It's a little bit better overall. Thanks in part due to the mini LEDs and the quantum dot layer. That QLED from Samsung does add some vibrancy to the colors and better contrast. So I think the Samsung does have a slightly better picture. But again, if you're sitting in a room looking at them side by side, that's Sony being 10 inches bigger. That makes a huge difference. If you're sitting more than 6 feet back from your TV, you really should go with the 65-inch. And based on what's available today, the current model Samsung's a little bit more expensive. It's new. It's not on sale yet. That Sony being last year's model. If you're not gaming and size matters, I would go with the Sony. If it's really not factoring size completely out of it, the Samsung wins. So I hope that helps your decision, Michael. If you need any more detail than that, definitely get in touch with one of our advisors. They are trained to help you with all of this stuff. They'll ask you questions about your situation and can hopefully recommend the right TV for you. We've got more people saying, hey. Temujin Scott says, how do you enter the sweepstakes? And it looks like we've already put a link into the chat for the YouTube video. So just follow that link and you'll be able to do that. Let's see, on Facebook, Jim says, love Bose. I got that. Ben says, threw out my Onkyo surround sound with Polk RTI speakers. Why did you do that, Ben? I don't know. I am curious. If you want to tell us more, I would be glad to talk about it. Chris says, hello, all. Happy opening day. Oh, yeah, baseball starts today, doesn't it? Is today opening day for baseball? I think it is. Oh, that's exciting. It got pushed back a little bit, so I kind of lost track of where they were. But yes, if today is opening day, excellent. Go Nats. Say what? Oh, that's right. Masters golf, and Tiger Woods is back on the course today. Let's see. John says on Facebook, 5.1 through Sony ES and full Polk surround sound, vintage RTA 11T, a CS350, and LSFXs with a PSW 550. If all of that was Greek to you, those are Polk model numbers. They've got a Polk center channel, Polk floor standing speakers, a Polk-powered subwoofer, all connected through a Sony ES receiver. Hard to get much better than that. So that sounds like an awesome home theater system, John. I'm kind of jealous. The sweeps link is pinned in the Facebook comments, so if you are looking for it there, it should be easily found. Matthew on Facebook says, unfortunately, television speakers. He's answering our poll question. Hopefully upgrade in the near future. Love Crutchfield and Bose. Awesome. Temujin Scott says, thank you. Excellent. Thanks for sticking with us, Temujin. I think that takes care of Michael's question and all of the housekeeping stuff here up top, which means it's time to get into Bose. And let me switch things over here. I'll put some headphones on and pull up Jason from Bose. Jason, you should be able to hear me now. Is that true?
I got you, JR.
Excellent. I can hear you loud and clear. Are we good with audio and video over there, Landon? Fantastic. So first off, why you? Who are you? Why did we bring you in here from Bose? We've talked in email a couple times, but this is the first time we're meeting face-to-face. What's up, Jason?
Not much, man. I guess, a little bit of my background is I've been with Bose for 21 years. Started in 2001. Started out in the product and technical support division. So I was talking to customers on the phone and did that for about 4 years. And then eventually started training the guys how to do that, training on 50 years of product and technology that Bose has put out over the years. And I've been now doing installation training, service training, and now sales training for the last, I don't know how many years. So I don't know. I guess some people consider me a Bose expert on products. I pretty much know, the very large majority of everything that we've ever released. I can pretty much talk about to some degree. So.
Well, that's a bold statement. I have a feeling our viewers might put you to the test on that. Scott from Facebook says, hey, Jason. So we've already got some people watching. Let me close this thing here so I can see all the comments. Jeff says, JBL Bass Pro Go question. Can you? We'll get to that after we're done with Bose. You don't know everything there is to know about JBL products, do you?
I know a little bit.
Let's see here. Yeah, so we'll come back to some of those questions. We may not be Bose centered. We'll come back and answer those after we're done talking to Jason. Jason, it sounds like your time with Bose sounds very similar to what I've been doing at Crutchfield. I started off on the phones talking with our customers and progressed into doing a lot of training, ongoing training for advisors, training our new hired advisors, working with tech training classes, done a lot of that. So yeah, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades and kind of know most of the things about all of the things.
Pretty much, absolutely. Yeah.
So so you've been there a while. Let's go back a little bit. And when I think of Bose early on, years ago, right, my first experience with Bose was I visited a friend who had a hi-fi store in D.C., and he brought me and my friend, we were in high school at the time, into the store, and he says, check this out. And he plays this big stereo system. It was in like an indoor mall that was closed. We were there ahead of time, early, before hours, right?
Nice.
He cranked that music. We were like, this is amazing. He's like, look, and it's all coming from these two little speakers right here. And we're like, what? We couldn't believe it. We didn't know what it was at the time. He showed us. He then revealed to us the Bose bass module down in the corner. He's like, actually, that's helping out, which I think was an Acoustimass 5, which so means I've always thought of Bose as that company that's really good at making big sound from small speakers. Your speakers don't need to be huge.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how Bose does that? Why Bose does that? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean that you hit the nail on the head. That started it off was the Acoustimass 5. I want to say it was 86, somewhere around there, the very first system. It basically became, if you remember the 80s, monolith hi-fi systems where you're dealing with rack components, tremendous amount of stuff. Even my parents, who were not hi-fi enthusiasts, had a giant glass rack with graphic equalizers and preamplifiers and amplifiers and turntable, 8-track. It's just monolith, just huge. So I mean, that's what I grew up with. So I love that kind of stuff. But my mom wasn't so great with the giant speakers all in our house and whatnot. So you were starting to see more and more people getting really into the decor of their homes. So the idea was really, okay, how can we take our direct reflecting type of speakers and make them in a smaller type of package where it seems like all of the sound is just emanating from just these cube speakers that you can put on your wall. Inadvertently, because bass is not directional, we could actually do a band pass type of a woofer. It wasn't actually a subwoofer, it's not actually powering low frequency effects or anything like that. This is way before, home theater. So we were basically just taking a bass off of the speaker output, stripping out, crossing it over, and leaving it there on the band pass Acoustimass module, and all the bass was coming from there. It allowed you to put it behind your couch, underneath your couch, maybe behind your entertainment center, whatever it may be. Tuck it away so mom or wife or whatever could be super psyched about that, and then all the sound just seems to be magically appearing all around the room from those two cube speakers. So that really started. It was a huge hit, by the way. It was, huge hit. It really took Bose to the next level in the 1980s, and it allowed us to really then dovetail that into the integrated lifestyle systems that everybody at Crutchfield is obviously very, very familiar with, and we did that for many, many, many decades, starting with the CD-based consoles in the 90s, and really all that was just a preamplifier system in the CD-based console, your powered Acoustimass on the floor that then powered the cube speakers that were on the wall.
Yeah,
and then, of course,
we kind of had two big flavors of those systems. The Acoustimass was kind of designed to connect to like any integrated amp, stereo receiver, to any two-channel power source, and then the Bose the Acoustimass 5 was your speaker system. The lifestyle system took all the other electronic components out of the equation. The whole thing was done by Bose, the amplification, the control, all of it.
Yeah, it really became kind of the first home theater in a box, if you want to kind of call it that. We try to stay away from that terminology, but really, if you're going to call it what it is, it really was. It was really one of the first home theater in a box that allowed you didn't need to go individual components and buy a whole bunch of different brands. You could just buy one thing and get it home, and it sounded fantastic. And that really turned a page for us at Bose, kind of moving, I don't want to say moving away from the direct reflecting speakers that we had been doing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but it really then created this entire new market for us within Bose. And I took a lot of those calls when I first started at Bose, just people wanting to connect up to their cable boxes or connecting up their TVs, or these newfangled things called DVD players. It was all fairly new at that time, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was here when the DVD player was released. It was a big day, to say the least. The Bose Wave Radio is an iconic product. That's another example of big sound from a small enclosure.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I've noticed, and I know we've had customers. Oh, let me actually. We got a couple shout outs. One of your coworkers, Matthew, says Jason rocks. Got an overview of all Bose products as part of a new employee orientation at Bose. FYI, I work in Bose's automotive division. So
nice.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks, Steve.
Let's see. Temujin Scott says, I had the acoustic wave music system. I still have my Bose 301 bookshelf speakers. I love my QC35s and in-ear noise canceling headphones too. They are all in on current Bose products. JR, why aren't you wearing Bose headphones in this segment? That's the best question we've gotten yet, because we really should have thought of that. I know where you can buy a few nice pairs. Well played, Jeff, on YouTube. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I told you in our email that this was going to happen, and we've got it right now. So the Bose, we can just say it, the Bose haters, they're out there, right?
Absolutely.
I've heard things like, oh, Bose is just a good marketing company, which, by the way, you are.
We've got really good marketing.
You really are.
Do. I got to admit it, we do.
Yeah. But there's other things that come up when people think about Bose, and there's a segment of the population that's just really not into it. And one of the things those people would say is no highs, no lows, must be Bose, or so the saying goes. That's somebody from Gypsy Lights on YouTube threw that out there. I wasn't going to say those words unless one of our viewers said it. You guys at Bose, when you come here to do trainings, have always been, hey, bring it on. Ask us the tough questions. What are your customers asking you? What are your challenges to selling Bose? What do you say to when you encounter the Bose haters, to Gypsy Lights? No highs, no lows, must be Bose. What do you say?
Well, that one, that was, when I first started at Bose, that was really considered a derogatory term, and I just laugh now because it's like, that's fine, and I think anybody that has known the company for a really long time knows where that comes from, is the classic 901 direct reflecting speakers, which was really how the Bose name has got out there. 1968, that's when they came out. The thing with the direct reflecting speakers, the 901s, was that it had an equalizer with it, and it was really one of the first speaker systems out there where you needed an equalizer specifically for these speakers so that they would actually sound good. Because if you don't know what the 901s do, it actually has one single transducer pointing into the room, and then it's got 8 transducers pointing at your back and side walls. So what you're really getting is direct sound coming right at you, which is directional, of course, and then you have all the sound that's slapping off the back walls and then filling your room. So the real reason why audiophiles hate us is because we kind of came off as an audiophile company, but we're really kind of not. We're really not that company that you want us to be. You want all the specifications. We need to know that we're going 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And well, if you take that speaker that was measured to get that 20 kilohertz to 20 hertz, they got that measurement off of an anechoic chamber. I know, JR, you don't have an anechoic chamber in your home, all right?
Not in this Crutchfield facility, and we do in another facility, but not here. I don't have access to that.
I heard that. So, nobody's listening to music in a perfectly acoustically, perfect room by any means. And honestly, that's why Dr. Bose was very adamant not about putting frequency responses of our speakers in any of our literature, was because of that very reason. It's like, look, you're taking direct information and reflected information, and as soon as that information goes into the room, it's going to sound different in JR's room. It's going to sound different in my room. So to say that our speaker does this frequency to this frequency, well, it does. But when Dr. Bose actually bought his first hi-fi system when he graduated from MIT, he's a scientist, right? He's an engineer. And his specialty is psychoacoustics, how we perceive sound. So he bought a hi-fi system all based on those specifications, took it home and said, this is the best system I could possibly get based upon the numbers. He dropped the needle on his favorite classical record, and he was horrified by what he heard because it was not to the numbers that they advertised. Well, it's because it didn't sound the way it was supposed to in his non-perfectly acoustically treated room. So it's one of the reasons why Dr. Bose never published any of the specifications. He was very adamant about putting the specifications of our speaker frequency performance on any of our products. So that's one reason why there's a lot of haters out there, because it's like, I can get really techie, I can get really geeky, and I want to know very specific information. And if I'm not getting it from a manufacturer, you get a little pent up and you get a little upset. And of course, there is a lot of people out there that try to hook up their 901s to their receiver that didn't have a preamp out main amp input that they could put that equalizer in there. So they hooked up their 901s to, whatever receiver that they had without the circuit, couldn't use the equalizer. And guess what? The 901s didn't sound very good. It was all mid-range. So hence the all highs, no lows, must be Bose. So yeah, there's haters out there. I can always say, you know what? Maybe we're just not for you. It's perfectly okay to say, that a particular type of speaker or company may just not be for you. There's certain companies out there that I know that really big out there in the industry, and I love some of the products that they do, and I really don't like some of the other products they do, but I certainly wouldn't bag the entire company for those few products that I don't like. But hey, that's just me.
That's always, in my opinion, been a confident and mature approach to the whole thing, is the being comfortable in your own skin, knowing that you're not the speaker company for everybody. Speakers and how they sound is such a subjective thing anyway, right? What I've always understood to be the case was that you don't want people to buy your speakers because the numbers are a certain way. You want them to buy them because they like how they sound.
That's it. That we've always said, and it's, if you know anything, obviously, JR, you're very familiar with the company, you know what we do. We're always big on the wow. We really just want to do a demo for you. That's it. We really want to sit you down in a seat and, plop something in front of you, put some headphones on you, put a speaker in front of you, whatever it may be, and say, look what this can do. What do you think? and most people go, wow, that's pretty impressive.
So
some people are not.
Let's talk about those 901s and their legacy for a little bit. We still, to this day, get calls. Now, it's maybe not every day anymore, but it's certainly every month, maybe even every week. Somebody's calling saying, hey, I got these Bose 901s from a friend, from a yard sale, I found them in the basement. I want to hook them up. What do I need? And the answer is not easy because it's hard. If you're using separate components, if you got a preamp and an amp, yeah, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad. And it typically, pretty much a large number of the integrated receivers that you guys sell at Crutchfield have that preamp out main amp in circuit. So every single source that you have connected to that receiver, to that integrated amplifier, is going out of that preamp circuit, going to the equalizer, and then coming back into the main circuit of the amplifier to then obviously be powered to the speakers.
Yeah.
If you don't have that circuit, you're out of luck. You can't make it work. If you don't have that equalizer, forget it. Try and find one on eBay or Craigslist or something like that, because that's really at these days that's the only way you're really going to find it. But you have to have the equalizer. If you don't have the equalizer, you're out of luck. The other one that we get too, because believe me, I took the calls so many times, notorious in the mid 70s, the foam deterioration on transducers on the drivers. You would see that really from just the type of foam that was being used. We had it, JBL had it, Fisher had it. There was a large number of companies out there in the industry in the 70s that had it as well. Just the foam surrounds would actually just crumble.
Yeah.
It would just, due to humidity, dryness, they would just deteriorate and fall away. So there's lots of, customers that call in, hey, can I redo this myself? No, don't attempt it. Can I replace all the transducers? Yeah, you want to really reproduce, replace 9 transducers per speaker.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't do that. So when I first started at Bose, actually on the phones, we actually had we didn't like to call it a trade-in program. It was actually a service option for our customers. So if you called in with a 901 series 2, 3, or 4, I think it was, you could call in and let us know that you had the foam deterioration issue with those speakers. And when we were actually still selling the 901s, we'd actually sell you another pair of 901s at a pretty severely discounted rate, which was pretty impressive when you consider it's it's like, all right, you've already gotten a number of decades of incredible love out of these speakers. Now we want to give you even more by giving you a newer pair of 901s at a discounted rate. Not a lot of companies would do something like that, and I was always really impressed by that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the fact that your customer support goes that extra mile like that, not too many companies are willing to do that, especially, like you said, decades later. We got some comments, a lot of Bose love happening in the comments now. Temujin Scott let's see, Bose caters to the demographic of people who don't want to deal with all the cumbersome setup for conventional stereo components.
It's true.
True, 100%.
You hit it nail on the head, Scott, 100%.
Let's see. Sam Online says 901's rule. Gypsy Lights, the one who said no highs, no lows, came back and said, I have Bose headphones and love them, but using Bowers and Wilkins speakers.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. We sell Bowers and Wilkins. They're great speakers. Awesome. Also,
really great speakers. Wish we still made floor standing speakers. Unfortunately, we haven't in a very long time. Bowers and Wilkins does great stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So if you are looking for big floor standing speakers, Bose isn't for you today. Bowers and Wilkins might be a great choice. Let's see. Another Matthew says, wife's car came with a Bose system. Little jealous, I have to admit. But I still like my aftermarket system I put together courtesy of Crutchfield even better. Hey, that sounds like all good news for both of us.
Everybody wins.
Mark says, longtime Boser here, 901 Series 5 as a youngster to Acoustimass 15, space limitations and kids. And finally, today, sounds like he's rocking a 7.1.4 Dolby Atmos system with the double cubes.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
How are they incorporating the double cubes today? Yeah. Are they still using the base module? Who knows?
They must be using it. We do hear about it, depending on what kind of receiver they're using or amplifier they're using. We'll hear people doing like, the Acoustimass 15 or 16 or something like that, which was a really good system, being able to do low frequency effects and all on that and whatnot, using that as your traditional 5.1 system, and then, of course, adding on additional speakers on top of that.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
John says Bose is focused on quality, not power. Not an issue in my ears. Right on. Dave asks, does Bose publish their specs now?
So we always actually have published some sort of specifications on the majority of our products. When it comes to speakers, no. When it comes to frequency response, no, we don't. But we've always published what the suggested wattage, or the impedance of the product is, things like that. We also don't do it for integrated systems because how could you measure the frequency response and what the amplifier and the wattage is doing on a wave radio, something like that, because you're literally taking, very, very small transducers and putting them through a waveguide, and just going through the physical properties of going through a waveguide, that's amplifying. So we can actually use a much less powerful amplifier and a small wave radio and use actual physics and acoustics to be able to amplify the sound off of this thing. So,
but that amplification can't be measured by the scope at all.
It's not conventional anyway. So
if you did publish
we'll say like decibel rating, we'll say, hey, the acoustic wave gets up to, literally the acoustic wave system got up to 110 decibels, which is ridiculously loud for, a fairly small component system, integrated system.
We could go 20 different directions from that, but I want to touch on like several things and combine them into one. You mentioned you're always about the wow factor. When you guys, when your trainers come here to Crutchfield to do training on new products, it's clear they've put more time and effort into creating a wow factor for us sales advisors just in those training moments. And one example of that uses those Bose wave acoustic wave music systems, the big ones, right? And when they were first showing us your first generation noise canceling headphones, the Quiet Comforts, they brought in those things. They hid them behind a curtain, and they said, all right, we're going to do a sound demo. Everybody's got these headphones all wired up. We're all wired up to the same source. We're watching a movie. The movie was Apollo 13, Tom Hanks playing with Legos with his kid. Not the scene with like spaceships taking off and stuff blowing up and surround sound. No, a quiet, subdued scene where the subtle details of the Legos touching the table was important. And then they told us to take our headphones off, and we found out that they were blasting airplane noise at us through those Bose acoustic wave music systems so loud you were like, put these headphones back on. And I mean, that's one of many of those wow moments that we've had with you guys here.
Yeah.
That noise canceling headphone thing seems to have been working out for you guys pretty well.
Yeah, we did all right with that, I think. Yeah. That's honestly when I first started at Bose, that was, I want to say, I started in 2001. We released the Quiet Comfort Series 1, the 321 system, and the Lifestyle 28, our first like DVD-based console systems, all in 1 year. So it was a pretty big year as far as when I first started. There was a lot of innovation that year. The fact that, you know, we were the first to come to market with an end consumer and an aviation-based noise-canceling headphone is pretty remarkable. And, you know, there's a tremendous amount of competition out there, and a lot of them are doing a really incredible job. But, you know, we started the whole thing off, and I still think we have an incredible product to this very day.
That all started off with the Voyager, right? The flight
Yeah.
with where they
Dick Rattan.
yeah, and they were going to fly a plane, circumnavigate the whole
World.
the world, right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to be in a plane,
Not refueling. The whole world, no refueling.
no
which is
refueling.
remarkable.
And if you're going to sit in a plane for however many days that takes, you're going to have a lot of noise. You're going to have to, and so some noise canceling headphones it became a thing because they partnered with you guys reluctantly at first. But is it Dan Gager? Is that right?
Dan Gager, he's the legend. I've worked with Dan on a few projects just recently on the Quiet Comfort earbuds. He put a lot of his own tech into that as well. But Dan is like a legend when it comes to Bose, because he basically took Dr. Bose's original idea. Dr. Bose did a flight from Sweden to the United States, and it was the first time on an international aircraft that they were going to have headphones. And if you guys remember, like the round foamy headphones that would sit on your ears, prior to that, you would have these tubes where there were like the little tiny speakers in your armrest, and the tubes would then stick in your ears.
Like a stethoscope. It was like a stethoscope.
It was exactly like a stethoscope.
Yeah.
Horrifically uncomfortable, and they sounded like, you know what? I mean, just garbage. So Dr. Bose had these, put them on, and he was a little underwhelmed because obviously they're sitting on top of your ears. You're getting decent audio out of them. However, the cabin noise, you know, from the jet and whatnot was just overwhelming. So you turn it up as loud as you can, and obviously it's just going to distort. So it's not a really fantastic experience. So legend has it is, you know, he took out a yellow pad and or a cocktail napkin and started, you know, working on the equations for noise cancellation. I don't think it was a cocktail napkin, nonetheless. But he brought it to Dan and a couple of other people. Roman's last name is Russian, and I have a hard time in pronouncing it. But Roman and Dan are like legendary engineers at Bose, and they were really responsible for taking Dr. Bose's vision and putting into an actual working product. So they took this prototype that we were trying to shop to the military, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and it just didn't go anywhere. It just kind of fell apart. The contract just didn't happen. So they heard about the Voyager mission, and they literally flew out to the Mojave Desert, pretty much cold call sales like Dick Rattan. So like, hey, you got to hear this, because what they heard from a news article was that it was possible that the aircraft had so little protection in it, because it was all just fuel. That's all it was. It was just an aircraft, 2 seats, measurements, fuel, and that's it. Nothing else in it. It was speculated that they were going to lose perhaps 25% of their hearing from being in this airplane because they didn't have any kind of protection, and the bruises that they sustained from the clamping force of the conventional aviation headsets they were using at the time, from wearing them from days on end, from all the test flights that they were doing, was just unbearable. So they handed it to Dick. They said, hey, we need 5-minute your times. And he said, you got 5 minutes. They got him to fire up his own aircraft, which we believe was a Cessna. And the rest is history. He basically, they flipped the switch. It covered up the noise of his Cessna. And he was like, we need these. This is mission critical. We need these. And that started the whole thing. It really did.
If for you viewers at home, if you want more of that story, we have it. Jeff Miller, one of our guys here who writes about headphones, sat down in a Teams call like this and had an interview with Dan Gager, talked to him for a good long time, wrote an article about it, and we took and made that into one of our podcast episodes. So you can hear the long version from the legend himself, who I guess is still involved in making quiet comfort and noise canceling headphones. Is he still doing that?
Boom. Quiet Comfort earbuds is his baby. Like he was really we did a software update last year that involves one of his chief technologies in this called ActiveSense. And Dan was really big on this ActiveSense. What it does is while you're in aware mode, there's basically a compressor built into the product now. So if you're in aware mode, which means the microphones are on your earbuds and you can hear yourself and everything that's going on in the room. If anything comes into your audio path that's really sharp, loud, and sudden, my wife comes into the kitchen, slams the door, ActiveSense will compress that so that loud slam doesn't go spiraling to my ears and gouge me in the ears. It compresses that. If there's a car that's going by, a pack of Harleys going by my window, it will compress all of that. I can still hear everything that's going on. I could hear what's going on in the room. I could still hear myself talk, but all of that background noise just gets diminished down. Yep. And it's really, really remarkable technology. Dan was responsible for that, and it's absolutely fantastic. So
I say a little prayer to Dan every time I mow my grass, because I put a pair of those in my ears, and they are fantastic. We have actually a question about noise canceling headphones from Steve Munich on YouTube. So what is your recommended model for airplane use? Noise canceling headphones? ? Prefer Bluetooth, of course. Thanks.
Of course. Yeah. So it really comes down to these days, do you want a banded headphone, meaning something that goes over your ears?
Like what we're wearing right now?
Like we're wearing right now.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, I'm wearing the Quiet Comfort 35 Series 2 gaming headset. It has the boom mic on it, so you can hook it up to your Xbox controller like I do, and my wife and I go into ESO and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But anyways, I digress. So if you're looking for a banded headphone, like something that goes around your ears, really the Quiet Comfort 45 is our best noise cancellation, period, that you can get in a banded headphone. It is absolutely fantastic. It's actually better than the noise canceling headphone 700, which is a fine product. It does a really good job as well. But the QC45s definitely have the best noise canceling performance of any product that we have right now. It was really, really fantastic. If you're looking for the earbud format, then it's the Quiet Comfort earbuds, hands down. It's the noise canceling on that product is as good as what we put in the noise canceling headphones 700 in an earbud format, which is also incredibly remarkable. 6-hour battery life, and of course you got the charging case, and it does a whole bunch of stuff. 12 hours of additional battery on that as well. So that's what I would recommend, either the QC45 for around ears or the Quiet Comfort earbuds for in-ear form factor.
I'll second that one, Jason. Thank you. So let's see. Temujin Scott said, are they bringing back the SoundTouch 30? I loved it.
That was a fantastic product. Prior to that, it was the Companion 10, I think it was, or it was giant speaker that was SoundDock 10. It was you could put your iPod in it and it would play.
Had a 30-pin dock connector on it.
Exactly. Really fantastic product. I agree with you. There just hasn't been sales of that were not exactly what we wanted to be. A little bit higher price point. Apple did a similar type of product around that time. Big, kind of a behemoth product. Really sounded fantastic. Same kind of a thing. A little difficult to sell a very large one-trick pony kind of speaker like that. So unfortunately, no plans, at least not that I know of, and I know a couple of years into the future what we're doing. I haven't heard of anything like that with a SoundTouch 30 type of speaker, unfortunately.
Gypsy Lights came back and said, Bandit headphones keep your hat from blowing away. So there's an added benefit you didn't even consider, Jason.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly.
I've got a couple quick hitters for you that I wanted to know more about. In our email, you told me, I didn't even know that Bose made a turntable. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's funny because my training class when I first joined Bose, I think it was 7 weeks of training. It felt more like 9 or 12 weeks of training because, it was a windowless room and it was just 5 guys, just, way too much air conditioning and, like a death by PowerPoint. And we had owner's manuals and service manuals just around us everywhere. This is again 2001.
Yeah.
But we covered every single product from 1968 to 2001. And of course, my teacher said, don't worry, you'll never get a call on this. You'll never get a call on this. So, of course, my very first call, and I'm like, because I had never done call center experience or anything like that. I just was good at tech. And my very first, I'm like, thank you for calling Bose Product and Technical Support. Like just nervous, But thanks for calling Bose Product and Technical Support. This is Jason. How can I help you? Yes, I have a 360 turntable. What? Yeah, we I believe it was 1972, which is the year I was born. We made the Bose 360 turntable, and we only made it for 1 year, and it kind of went along with a product that we had at the time called the Spatial Control Receiver, which was an amplifier specifically made for the 901s. It had the EQ built into it, so you didn't need the separate EQ. So if you could find one of those and want to completely refurb it, that's awesome as well. Super loud. I think it was like 250 watts or something like that. It was Class A power too. It was really nice. But the 360 turntable kind of coincided with that product. We made it for 1 year. The gentleman was looking for a replacement belt, so I got off easy. I got off really easy.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even know you guys made a turntable for only a year. That's cool. Another thing I learned in our email that I want to know more about is Project Sound. I had to Google it after because I hadn't heard about it until you mentioned it. I Googled it and found out you guys made basically a suspension system for cars that used speaker technology. It was called Project Sound. It was super secret until recently. So tell me more about that and why is it now public knowledge? Is it going to happen?
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. In the history of things that Jay Burnt has seen in his lifetime, absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We were given a demo of it. I want to say it was about 2003, 2004, up at the mountain. I work at the mountain, at the corporate center on the mountain. At the time, I wasn't working there, but I was invited up to see this demonstration. And they brought out a 1994 Lexus Coupe that was outrigged with this electromatic suspension system. And no word of a lie, this thing just glided through the parking lot. It went over speed bumps, and it looked like the land speeder in Star Wars. It just, like, the car didn't move. Like, it didn't go like this. It just went right over a speed bump and I think they took the speed bump at like 50 miles an hour. Did not move the car whatsoever. So basically it was the rumor was, and we never got the true story, but the rumor was that there are some train tracks right near the corporate center, and Dr. Bose had an early version of the CD player in his car. Like, it was one of the first systems. It didn't have really good suspension in the actual, shocking.
No, those first CD players skip like crazy.
They skipped like crazy. So he was like, he wasn't thinking the suspension of the actual CD player in his car. He was like, what if we change the suspension in the actual vehicle? So at least that's the rumor. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but the idea is let's make a better suspension system for cars, and Project Sound, because we needed to affiliate it, the company in some way that it was a sound product that we were working on for 20 years. We actually worked on the suspension system. Now, each shock absorber in this actual vehicle required four full-size 12-volt batteries. So not practical in 2003, like just not practical whatsoever. Gas prices were soaring at that time. It would have been a nightmare for it to actually work in your automobile. We did end up selling the electromatic suspension system to a company that put it in truck driver seats. So anybody driving big rigs, if you're doing coast to coast, across the country types of truck driving, it does a tremendous amount of damage to your back, because the suspension system is in trucks, even though they're some of the best in the world, they're still really not that great. So instead of changing the suspension system on the actual truck, we put these seats in there. It was called Bose Ride when we first did it, and it allowed basically the truck driver to just float and not feel anything on the road. And we got so many people saying this saved my life, all of those types of things. So they were I want to say they were in Peterbilt's and Volvo trucks for a long period of time, and I still think that's an option that you can get in certain model of trucks to this very day. So that was Project Sound. One of the coolest things that never really didn't make it off the ground from what I saw. It morphed into something else. But still, if you go onto YouTube, you guys just type in Project Sound or Bose suspension system, you will see some really, really cool
Yeah, you'll see
stuff.
the videos of those cars flying over stuff, and just it looks like they're driving on flat, smooth ground.
It really does. It looks like a land speeder, like in the first New Hope movie, just flying across. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Jason, we're going to wrap this up soon. Let's see if there's any more comments, and then I'm going to ask you about how you listen to music at home.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. It looks like we have another comment. Shay Jacobson says, "Hi, JR and Jason. I remember when I got my first Bose speakers. I can't recall the model anymore, but they were floor-standing speakers I purchased at Service Merchandise in the late 80s, early 90s. So just a shout out, Bose lover from a long time. Sam Online says, I have a pair of Inter Audio by Bose speakers with the lens over the tweeters. That one's a new one to me. Inter Audio, what's that?
We did a number of kind of like off-brands in the 80s. We did the Point 2 systems, and we did Inter Audio, and there was one other one that we did as well. We basically did them in conjunction with certain stores. I want to say like Lechmere and a few other like kind of older retail companies that are no longer in business for quite a time. But the Inter Audios, I have a pair of them as well. We did floor standing, and we did bookshelf speakers. They were almost a little bit too similar to like the 01 products we were doing at the time, but they were kind of more of a budget-friendly kind of, I guess that's probably the best way to put it, more of a budget-friendly type of a line within Bose. Good speakers, though. I still have a pair of bookshelf ones. Don't use them all that much, but yeah.
Cool. There you go. Old Cadillacs had load leveling shocks and Bose sound systems. So,
Yep.
not Bose shock systems, but Bose sound systems. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's see here. Yep, I think we're good on comments. One of the things we do with the audio from the Crutchfield Live is we'll repurpose it for Crutchfield the podcast. So you, like Dan, are going to be a guest on our podcast without you having to do any extra work. What we do on the podcast is we ask people, we have access to some of the coolest gear on the planet. We know more about most consumer electronics than most people. What stuff do we choose to put in our own homes or in our own cars or whatever? What stuff do we like so much we bought it? We took advantage of our employee discount here at Crutchfield or, whatever. You've been in the industry for a while. You know a thing or two about it. So what kind of system are you rocking at home?
So I mostly like a lot of vintage stuff. That's, like the stuff that I grew up with, for the longest time I had a Sansui AU717 integrated receiver because that was just, that's what I grew up with. I loved it. It's fulfilled my purpose for a really long time. But what I have now is I'm rocking a Thorin's 115 TD turntable with a Grace F9 cartridge. And I am using that with a Vincent Audio 237 integrated amplifier, and I love that thing. Absolutely love that thing. and I'm using a Yaquin phono preamplifier, tube phono preamplifier with 12AX7s in it.
So that Vincent integrated amp, that's a relatively new product, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I was really, to be completely honest, I was really looking for Macintosh. I sold a bunch of guitars. I'm a former professional musician. I have a lot of equipment, way too much, and a lot of it's just not getting used. So I sold a few guitars, I sold a few amplifiers, and I was like, I want to get a Macintosh. It's something I've always wanted since I was a kid. My uncle had a Macintosh and some 901s, and that was my first introduction.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That was my first introduction to Bose, and I was like, oh, you know, it was just glorious. So in my head, I really wanted a Macintosh, but I kept, you know, I went to the forums and kept reading all the, hey, if you're looking at the Macintosh integrated amplifier, you know, the current one with the 12AX7s in it, you may want to check out this Vincent audio. And I kept seeing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I pulled the trigger, and I don't regret it. I absolutely love it. It's a really incredibly well built piece of machinery. The fact that it has a really nice bright 12AX7 right there in the front that you can kind of dim the light on, and like it looks great. It sounds fantastic. I have a pair of the last floor standing speakers that Bose made. I have the 701 Series 2s that were made in 2003. And I think they're really cool speakers. They sounded fantastic on Sansui. When that died, I replaced it with a different integrated amplifier that I hated. As soon as I hooked up this Vincent, it was like, wow, I didn't think these speakers ever sounded this better. They've never sounded this good in their entire life. I've heard them on a lot of amplifiers, and this is the best I've ever heard them. Absolutely, hands down.
Do you use any kind of subwoofer or anything for any low frequency support, or just the Bose 701s?
The 701s have a low frequency effects input on it. And it has a bass amplifier in it, so it'll strip any of the bass frequencies that are coming out of your speaker level and then re-amplify them into that bass amplifier in the actual 701s. So it's just really adding more bass to it. And then you have a couple of dials on the side of the speaker, so you could really dial in the low frequency effects or the bass performance of the speakers. And it's been great for me. Although I have been wanting to, like, I've been looking at Crutchfield. A few years ago, I did a trade show with Andrew Jones. Oh. And he was, you know, fascinating to talk to for a couple of days. And of course, ELAC, he had a number of ELAC speakers there, and I was like, Murr. So I've been looking at Crutchfield. I'm like thinking about maybe pulling the trigger on a couple of models of ELAC. So I may come to you guys, and we'll go from there. But
we got you covered. Andrew Jones isn't with ELAC anymore.
No, I know.
So where is he? Do you know where he's gone? I've been trying to figure it out. The internet does not know what Andrew Jones is doing next.
It seems like he's just kind of like, I don't want to say just vanished, but it seems like he's like in a transition to something else. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, he's not done, right? He didn't just retire. I didn't get the impression he was done designing speakers.
No, even when I was, you know, I got a chance to sit down and talk with him, it didn't sound like he was done designing speakers. This was probably about 5 years ago, and it certainly didn't sound like he was done then. But you never know. As we are getting older in age, JR, you know, sometimes our health doesn't keep up with us, you know, so it's possible. I certainly don't want to say anything bad about Andrew Jones, but you never know. It's possible.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I was hoping you might have some insight.
No, I wish I did.
We're almost done here. Sam Online says, I grew up in Asbury Park where there was an arcade with Macintosh and 901s. That's where I hung out.
Boom.
How cool is that?
That's a really cool arcade, man.
Yeah. Maybe that explains Bruce Springsteen, right? I mean, Eliza Gonzalez says, hi, what did I miss? So if we could just recap everything we've covered, that would be great.
Can we do that, JR? We got some time, right?
Daniel on Facebook says, great show today. Thank you, Daniel. All right, we're going to finish this up with, now that we know your system, what do you like to play? Like, when you go home tonight, what record are you going to put on that Thorens turntable? What are you going to jam out to?
I just got a mono copy of Giant Steps by John Coltrane that I am like literally just arrived today, so I'm like salivating to actually put it on the turntable. But actually, a few days ago, I got a one-step Mobile Fidelity version of Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel, and it is glorious. I don't think I've heard that record sound better in my entire life. If any of you guys are into vinyl and you think the one step thing is hype, it's not. It's like I literally was like, wow, okay, I spent a little bit more money than I really wanted to on this because it's very out of print, but it is absolutely the best I've ever heard this record sound. No service noise. It was beautiful. Of course, I wash everything before I actually play it, but beautiful, glorious. So that's what I'm rocking right now.
Awesome. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna remind everybody how to get entered into our Bose sweepstakes. We're giving away 4 of these Bose Flex speakers. Yeah, right on. We got 4 of these we're going to be giving away. We've got a code word so people can get an extra 25 entries. This is a cool sounding Bluetooth speaker.
Yes.
It really does that Bose thing where you will have a wow experience. You're going to get more sound than you expect out of this little guy.
And it's waterproof.
And take it with you wherever you go.
Yep.
Jason, I can't thank you enough for spending all this time with us. Thank you once again. I'm going to be picking your brain on training stuff. We'll be talking more. And look for a podcast episode later this year with repurposing all of this audio. Thanks again, man.
Love it. Thanks, JR. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.
Peace out. All right, let me get that closed, and let me make sure this is completely closed because I am sick of these notifications popping up on my screen. Sorry if you were seeing the toolbar on my screen during that whole time. That's minorly annoying, but, and I guess I don't need these headphones anymore. There we go. All right, we need to talk about how to get you entered into this sweepstakes. It's kind of a big deal. If you were watching at our last show, you probably already got entered. If you're watching this show, there's links already in the comments to take you to this page right here. One of these pages. I've got a lot of pages open. Which one there? Nope, that's not it. That's the Bose episode on the podcast. That's the Bose Acoustimass 5 that he was just talking about. That's a Bose speaker at somebody's house. Oh, and look, here's a Bose giveaway page. I got all these tabs open. I wanted to show everybody. We'll come back to that. This is the page. You're going to want to go here to this page and enter to win one of 4 of these speakers that we are giving away. I'm going to show you how to do it. I mean, it's not like you can't figure it out, but I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in there and my name. And somebody in the background is going to go take all my information out, so I will not be able to win these speakers. Don't you worry. I'm going to agree to that and hit enter. On the next page, check this out. There is a thing called a bonus code word that'll get you an additional 25 entries into this drawing. We're giving away 4. You really got to kind of pay attention to Crutchfield Live to get in on it to begin with. And this right here is how you get 25 extra entries. The code is hashtag SoundLink Flex, all one word, hashtag SoundLink Flex. It's on your screen now. Go to that bonus code word section like I just did, type in hashtag SoundLink Flex and hit submit, and you will get an extra 25 entries into the drawing, dramatically increasing your chances of winning a really, really nice Bose Bluetooth speaker. So there, I think that's that. The winner will be announced in our next Crutchfield Live, which is 2 weeks from right now. 2 weeks from literally right now, you will be hearing about the 4 winners that are picked at random from all of the entries into this drawing. I am not going to be here that time. I am so sad that I'm going to get to miss announcing who's winning this. I'm in a musical, and I'm going to be performing in a musical that night, and there's no way I can do this and that at the same time. Which also, by the way, explains why the beard is going crazy. We don't have much longer. I'm going to trim this thing up, I promise, everybody. So there, winner 2 weeks from now. That's April 21st. That's the deadline. 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. April 21st is the last second entries for the drawing. That's it. At 4:15, we'll close the drawing, close the entries into the drawing, and then we'll figure out who's winning. And we'll announce those, somebody will announce those live on the show. Cool. Big thanks to Jason for joining us. And what's the code word, Temujin Scott? I just told you, and hopefully you got it. I'm not going to say it again. It was on the screen. I'll say it again. Hashtag SoundLink Flex. Eliza Gonzalez, this might be out of pocket, but what's a good soundbar with bass? I have a Samsung HWA 550. I'm not impressed with the subwoofer. Your question couldn't be better timed, Elias Ellis? I can't see. I don't have glasses on. Elias?
Yeah, you also got a response from Michael from earlier.
Oh, from Michael. That's right. I saw that while we were talking Bose, and I didn't go back to it. So let's go back to that. I got to scroll up for that one. No, Michael Davis. If my question on the Sony X90J versus the Samsung QN90A was answered, I missed it. Then you did miss it. I'm so sorry, Michael. You're going to be able to go back and watch this after the live is done. YouTube will process it, and like a few hours later, this will be available on YouTube. I did give a pretty detailed answer to your question about the TV.
He had a response to that earlier.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, scroll up more.
All right, let me scroll up more. Good, thank you. Let's see. There it is. For the same money, doesn't the 55-inch Samsung get a better overall picture quality and punch than the 65? I bought the X90J. Ooh, it's terrible compared to my X95J, and it should be so different. So, yeah, I think the conclusion I came to, Michael, was that the Samsung wins in the side-by-side comparison for those two. Simply for picture quality, I think it is better than the Sony in that case. So I agree with you, and I did go into more detail there early in the show. So hopefully, if you haven't had a chance to catch that, you'll be able to watch it when we go when this live video becomes part of our channel. We've also got the answers to our poll question. The poll question from earlier was, how do you listen to your TVs and movie? TV speakers, soundbar, stereos, two-channel system, or surround sound? Overwhelming majority of you are using a surround sound system. Excellent, 52%. Soundbar and two-channel system was in second place, tied at 19%, and 9% of you are still using your TV speakers. If we could get that down to 0%, we will have done our job. Now, Dolby Atmos is our next topic. Dolby Atmos is I got separate answers on Facebook. So the poll was done on Facebook too, and it looks like very similar responses there. 48% said surround sound system. 20% of you, though, are using TV speakers. So we got to get Facebook up to speed, and we got to get you solutions. Okay, Dolby Atmos. Let me see if I can find the tab I had open that was all about Dolby Atmos. It's somewhere around here. Nope. Here. Nope. Here. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to type in Dolby Atmos on my computer on our website so that you can see we've got a page on our website that's all about Dolby Atmos. First off, what is it? You've probably heard it if you're into surround sound, if you've been to a really good movie theater, you've probably heard about Dolby Atmos. The reason I'm talking to you about this today is because several things have happened recently. I recently trained my training class on home theater stuff and surround sound, and so Dolby Atmos is top of mind for me. Also, we recently did a video on a new soundbar from Devialet called the Dione Warwick. I don't know. And it's an amazing soundbar that does Dolby Atmos. And so we're going to show you some of that here in a minute. But both of these things were top of mind, so I wanted to hit on them for you. Dolby Atmos is a surround sound format that adds a whole extra dimension of sound above you. Right? When you go to a movie theater, when I go to my local Alamo Cinema Draft House and I sit in auditorium number 4, it's their biggest theater with the most speakers and the biggest screen. If I look up at the ceiling, there's speakers all over the ceiling. There's even subwoofers on the ceiling. It's crazy how many speakers. There's like 43 speakers in that theater. And that is by far the best audio and video I can get in a movie theater. If I want anything close to that at home, I'm going to need some speakers that bring sound down for me. So if I'm watching a movie with a scene with rain in it, it sounds like it's raining down, not just on the speakers that are surrounding me at ground level, but actual sound coming from above. That's what Dolby Atmos is all about. When a helicopter flies by in a scene of a movie, when bullets are whizzing by, they're above your head, they're going above you, and the sound of them is coming out of those speakers that are above you. That's what Dolby Atmos adds to home theater and to movie theaters that wasn't there before. It's that next level of home theater surround sound. So that's what it is. Now, how do you get it? First off, you're going to need a receiver or another product like a soundbar that does it. If it doesn't say it does Dolby Atmos, it doesn't. So we're going to have to get you something with Dolby Atmos. If you have a surround sound system with separate speakers all around you, that's when you need a receiver that can process the sound. So it knows what sounds to put on those speakers that are above you. It's also object-based. So objects can feel like they're moving around in your space, not just when you see them on the screen, but they move around audibly as well. So you can hear things moving above you. When it comes to additional speakers, let's talk about that. You're going to need more speakers. You've got 5 or 7 speakers surrounding you at ground level. You're going to need more above you. And the best place for your Dolby Atmos speakers is to actually put speakers above you in your ceiling. In-ceiling Dolby Atmos speakers is probably the best way to do it because they're actually above you, raining sound down on your listening position. They go roughly right above where your couch is. You could even have 2 pairs of speakers up there. So 4 total speakers, giving you even added dimension on that. So having them actually above you is the best way to go. And it's not easy to do if your house is already built, right? You're talking about cutting holes in your ceiling and running speaker wire. Much easier to plan your home theater this way if you're building a new room, new construction, if you're building your home theater room in your house from scratch. Take advantage of that fact and run some speaker wire and put some speakers in your ceiling. That takes up no floor space. It is by far the coolest looking way to do it because they just disappear into your room. And it is the most convincing for those overhead effects. Not everybody can do that. If you can't put speakers in your ceiling, you're not out of luck. There are other ways to do it. If you have a nice pair of, say, floor standing or bookshelf speakers, you can add speakers on top of them that face upwards. Upward firing speakers. Sometimes they're an additional speaker you place on top of your floor standing speaker. Sometimes they are built into the top of some floor standing speakers. We call these toppers because it's incredibly clever. It fires sound up at an angle, and the idea is that it bounces that sound off of your ceiling back down at you in your listening position to give you those height effects without having to put actual speakers up there. Angled drivers bouncing that sound down at you, and that all can be made to work really well, especially if you have a conventional ceiling that's not way up. If you have an A-frame or vaulted ceilings or some other odd weirdness going on with your ceiling, that could make it tough for that to work really well. But if you've got normal ceilings, your room calibration system built into your home theater receiver will do a nice job of making those sounds bounce up and back down at you so you get those overhead effects. And it's available in a variety of sizes and finishes so you can make it look nice, and they kind of blend into those front speakers. So you can also put those speakers physically high up on your sidewalls and angle them down at you is another thing you can do with most of those toppers. You can do that as another way to get sound to sort of be firing down at you. But if you are looking for a much simpler surround sound system, and which is becoming very popular to not have speakers all over the room, a lot of people are using sound bars, and we've been thinking of sound bars for years as it's just a good way to make your TV sound better. In the last few years, there have become a few sound bars that are taking that to a level that was definitely something I would not have predicted. They actually do surround sound from a bar right there in front of your TV. The first one of these that I was impressed with was made by Sennheiser, called the Ambio. It is a Dolby Atmos bar. I heard it in Vegas at CES in the Sennheiser booth. Then we heard it here at Crutchfield, and we were fooled into thinking we were listening to an entire surround sound system when it was really just a sound bar and a subwoofer, and that's it. With upward firing speakers, it was really impressive how good those height effects and back effects were, all from a really nice soundbar. The next one that came out was the Sonos Arc that I was really impressed with. I brought it home, I tested it, it sounded great. Sonos Arc with a subwoofer, man, great sounding system. Height speakers aimed up at my ceiling, bouncing sound back down at me at my couch. I tested that one at home, loved it. The newest one of those is this one from Devialet, and now I will bring that up on my screen here. It's the Devialet Dione. There you go. And this soundbar takes the cake as far as I'm concerned. I've heard some great soundbars. I've heard some great discrete sounding systems, surround sound. This thing has 8 bass drivers, something like 13 full range drivers, all aimed at you, and some of them are aimed up. You're seeing some of our footage of this soundbar now, and the sound effects, where it was legitimately able to bounce sound up off the ceiling for us. So if you're watching a movie and you're in Dolby Atmos, you will get the height effect. It will send sound to the walls behind you. How well it does that always, of course, depends on your room and the walls and the shape of your room. But as a soundbar, if you have the right kind of room, it will impress. And the most impressive thing about it was that I did not need to add a subwoofer to it at all. You can't. There's 0 subwoofer outputs. There's no way to wirelessly hook one up. There's 0 subwoofer needed with the Devialet Dione. And I know you're looking at it right now thinking, that can't possibly have enough bass to make, if a dinosaur explodes in your movie, you should feel it, right? You can feel it with this soundbar. And in most other cases, you would need a subwoofer to do that. In the case of this Devialet, you do not. I'm gonna break this down. Here's a exploded shot of the inside of it. And so these are let me get this closer here. There we go. These are your bass drivers right here. There's 8 of them, 2 of them facing behind you. They face the wall behind the TV and bounce sound back into the room. There's 2 facing forward. You've got speakers facing out to the left and the right, at you for the left, center, and right speakers in the front, and then upward firing Atmos speakers. I mean, if I had it to do over again, I would consider doing this as my home theater system instead of separate speakers and a receiver. It's simpler. We plugged it into the TV with HDMI and it just worked. And it's pretty awesome. So that is by far the easiest way to do Dolby Atmos. So you can go speakers in the ceiling, you can go toppers, you can go with now there's 3 legitimate choices for sound bars that really do a nice job of giving you that height channel that adds to the surround sound. So if you saw the price on it, you were thinking, gosh, that's an expensive sound bar. Compare that to the price of 5 speakers and a home theater receiver and all the speaker wire that you have to run and the subwoofer that you need over in the corner, and you will maybe even save money if you just go with one of these. And we recently did a full video on it. That's where that footage came from. So if you want even more detail than I just gave you, check that out. But the overall message here was how to do Dolby Atmos, and this is by far the simplest way to do it. Do we have any more comments from anybody? Is anybody still watching? Let's see. No new comments here, so we're gonna do one last thing before we wrap this thing up. Okay, we're still watching the Dione, right? That thing's cool. That ball in the middle, you change that. You can mount the Dione like vertically. If you wall mount your TV, you can set it flat like we have it in this video. You just change that ball on the front when you change its position. So very cool. Next, we've got some pics from people that have tagged Crutchfield on Instagram, and we're just going to take a look, give them some shout outs because we love it when people show us the gear that they have bought from us and they've put it in their cars, they've put it in their homes, and we get to see how people are using it. We got some ready to go there? All right, let's see the first one. This is a 2002 Jeep Liberty, made an upgrade with the Bose Elite BV800 ACP, and they're showing it with the backup camera. Very cool. Looks good too. No gap around the edge. That looks great in the dash of that. That's with the dash kit that replaced that factory radio. So nice job with the installation. Hope it all went smooth. What else we got? Oh, look at that. That's a JL Audio subwoofer. Looks like it's mounted in the trunk. And now JL Audio makes stealth boxes, but that does not look to me like a JL Audio stealth box. I can't tell if it is or if it's a enclosure that was homemade. And if it is homemade, nice job. That carpet matching and everything, it looks great. If that's the stealth box for the car, shout out to JL Audio because those things just look so good. They just blend in seamlessly to the car. But yeah, that looks great. I'll bet that sub sounds great as well. What else we got? What we got here? This is a Another Bose radio mounted. We're seeing a lot of Bose radios mounted in a lot of cars these days. They've been really able to keep us in stock with some radios that do a lot of cool things like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and it's been, inventory's been tough here during the supply chain shortage and all the chip shortage and all that, but Bose seems to have got it figured out. I've been here. I've been in this situation before. This is what it's like when you're doing a massive install. You've got the radio out. You maybe have a seat removed. You've got panels up. You're running wires from the front of your car to the back of your car. You're soldering in the dash, and it looks like a mess. And if somebody that doesn't know what's going on comes and looks at it, they're going to think you've just destroyed your car. What they don't know is when you're done, it's going to sound amazing. But it takes it looks worse before it gets better. And look, here's an example of it looking better. There's a JL Audio amplifier mounted, and those wires, that's a nice clean wiring job. They're putting them under the carpet. This amplifier looks to me like it's under a seat, like maybe a jump seat in the back of a truck or something. So that amp just sits there. You don't even see it when the seat's in its normal position, and it probably is Velcroed to that carpet there. But yeah, that's a good looking amp install. That's pretty tight. I like the wiring. Aw, that's awesome. That's what it looks like when you get a box, and inside that box is cool stuff. I can't read it. What is it? Does it say what we got and what that person ordered or anything? I can't see it from here on the monitor. It's a little too small for me.
And so it begins.
And so it begins.
The first box for build year 4 arrived today.
The first box for build year 4 arrived today. All right.
They don't say what it is.
So we don't know what's in there, just the mystique of it all. Yeah, that's cool. The excitement of a box from Crutchfield showing up on your doorstep is palpable, for sure. So I know what that's like. That's all we got, right? That's all the Instagram shots. Thank you for shouting out to us on Facebook and Instagram. It's hashtag Crutchfield. Is that right? That's what we're going with. Hashtag Crutchfield. You can @ us at Crutchfield and show us pics of your stuff. We'd love to see more. We will continue to do that. So if you want to be featured on live, that's one way to do it. Take a cool picture and @ us. All right. We're just about wrapping this up. Thank you so much to Jason Berendt from Bose for hanging out with me. I am absolutely going to go talk to that guy on my own time because he sounds incredibly interesting, and I think I will learn a lot just by becoming his friend. And a big reminder on the sweepstakes, use code #SoundLink Flex to get an extra 25 entries. You know that because you watched this show. This is where we announced that. So good on you. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all the people that commented today. Whole bunch of interaction with a whole bunch of people. Great comments. Thank you for doing that. Hopefully we got your questions answered. If we didn't, hit us up. April 21st is our next show. That's 2 weeks from right now. That's when we announce the winner for the Bose Flex sweepstakes. So definitely want to be there for that. I will not be there for that, and I'm so sad to miss you. I don't know what they're going to do without me, but we have a really great crew here. I'm sure they will figure out something. It will be almost as good as when I'm here, just almost as good so that they want me back the 2 weeks after that. So I'm looking forward to being back with you guys. I'll be performing as Nostradamus in Something Rotten at the Wayne Theater in Waynesboro, Virginia. Tickets are still available at waynetheater.org. I hope I didn't just get in trouble now with that super secret plug. But there you go. If you want to see me, that's where I'll be next week and 2 weeks from now. I'm JR, training manager here at Crutchfield. I'm probably not going to be able to sing at rehearsal tonight because I've talked so much, but I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you so much for watching. We're over and out.
Been up for hours, it seems. Just about my time to go. Head on back to reality. I guess it's time to go. Find out where we've been. I guess it's all the same. I'm left